Today I'm going to share with you my gift box. To start off with, the first item I'm going to show you is my social skills or behavior item. So what I did is I took a puzzle or a picture of a Buckeyes picture and I mounted puzzle pieces onto it. And we're going to call this that Brutus, the Buckeye, loves sharing. What I would do this with is a student such as my son, who is in elementary school, who may need to be working on sharing with classmates and peers, that when they get caught sharing, we would collect a puzzle piece. And when they get all 6 puzzle pieces, he would earn 5 minutes of Buckeye screen time. So he could look at games or news clippings or fun facts about the Ohio State Buckeyes. And so that's our social skills and behavior. For functional life skills, one thing that's very important for adults with disabilities is to be able to pay and send their bills as they get older, whether that's rent or paying bills such as their electricity or water bills. And with that comes a pretty important skill, which is to be able to know how to address your envelope. And so what I've done is I've taken multiple envelopes, different sizes, and I'll show them to you. And we have 2 different ways that they can learn how to start labeling. The first one is simply by having labels and spots that show them the right places that things go. It also shows them the right way that addresses are written and even includes a stamp. Different sizes of envelopes are utilized. And then finally, we have an envelope which gives them lines so they can practice writing themselves and putting on a stamp. And envelopes without the lines so that they can practice putting it on an envelope the way you would typically see it. The next part is my study skills material. And specifically what I looked at was the ability to participate in oral speeches. We know that oftentimes getting up in front of a classroom is challenging even for the most competent of students, and certainly for our students that are struggling with reading, with the information, or with oral communication. So what I came up with is this, which is called 30-second speeches. With the 30-second speech, they have a set of cards, and they would do this with a partner. These cards have different topics on them. They're very simple topics. It ranges from house pets to foods at McDonald's to pizza toppings. They will take the card and they have 1 minute to kind of think about what's important to them that they might want to say about this, and then they start their timer. One thing that I've given them on here that should be used all the time when they're giving speeches is that they need to remember to start by saying, "My name is Karen, and I know a lot about McDonald's." And that at the end of their 30 seconds, they should be saying, "And that's all I know about McDonald's." They can go back and forth with these topics, and my hope is that this is something that gets them comfortable working off the cuff and realizing that they have a lot to say. 30 seconds shouldn't be too much time to fill, and certainly you could increase it as the year progresses for students who are doing well. The next we have is language material. For our language material, I chose a synonym matching game. I would use this for English as second language students who are moving past being involved in simple identification. So I would think that I would be looking at 4th, 5th, and 6th grade students with this particular item. What you have is a matching game. You would place the cards on the table face down, and they would be looking for the pairs of matches of the synonyms. And we have things like save and keep, kind and nice, noisy and loud. There are also items that are nouns. There are items that are verbs that are in here, and items that are adjectives. So I think you could really stretch this to cover a lot of different things and begin to connect how the English language works in a more intricate fashion with the students. My first piece of language arts material, reading material, for kindergarten through 6th grade is a family wheel. I got this out of Mercer, and the idea is that it allows children to have a visual aid to tell them what the family is of the words that they're looking at, and then they can spin the letter in order to read the word together. So this is my cat, and as you can see, it's the AT family then. So you would have cat, and as they spin the wheel, they have rat, they have bat, and so on. So it allows them to have some success because of the visual aid. I think that you could do this with multiple different animals or items and have the same style of wheel that goes on. The second piece of reading material for kindergarten through 6th grade, I also did an activity that I found in Mercer. And with this, I made laminated cards, which can be erased. They have a picture of the item to give a visual aid, and then it has a word with one letter missing. The student would use their Expo marker to write in the missing letter so that they had the word correct and be able to read the word. We have the visual aid. Certainly you could do this, another set that is a little more advanced by removing the visual aid. All of these cards are also single syllable words, so you could increase or differentiate out by adding more challenging words, things with 2 syllables, things like that. For reading material for 7th through 12th grade, I did do material which is under grade level because my goal is to be working with students who are dealing with moderate to intensive challenges and disabilities in their classroom. The first item that I made has to do with working on open and closed syllables. This is sometimes challenging because when you look at the open and closed syllables, you're looking at one letter, often changing the sound of the word. So this is a visual aid. It's very simple, but it's something that they can work with in order to increase their reading vocabulary. And when you look at this, first you show that it's open by opening the card, and it says B. But when you close the card to make a closed syllable, it says bell. Open is B, closed is bell. I think this is nice because it gives them a really good visual aid. It also gives it something that they are tactily doing to hopefully kind of use all areas of learning for the student. The next cards, also for older students but are below grade level, have to do with the purpose of silent E. So this is a silent E slider. And what you look is you see that we have long cards, and on it is a silent E that slides. So they can read the original word, which is mad, but when they slide the silent E across, it becomes made. We go from mad to made. We have multiple of these in here. And one other example, this says rat, and you slide over and you get rate. Again, I think it's nice to have something that gives them a tactile or kinesic interaction, which just gets more of the body involved and hopefully helps them be able to really learn the material. The next item that we have starts with our math materials. The first math material that I'm going to show you goes along with my math lesson plan, which was the clock that I made. I would actually have the students make this clock themselves in there. These are my kids, by the way. You guys say hi. 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 They're going to listen along with us. So this is the clock that we made for our math lesson plan that we completed. I do have a worksheet with this, but I do not want to use the worksheet as a pen and pencil. What I would do is I would have the kids attempting to match their paper plate clock with the time on the sheet and learn to identify what the clock means. I think it's important that they're manipulating the hands themselves and really being able to connect that physical movement with it. The second piece of math information that I have, I actually found on themeasuredmom.com, and this is mixed practices of addition. This is a game that children can play. I would think that this would come between first and second grade. And with this, the students have blocks. They would play in pairs, and their goal is that they are trying to get 4 of their color blocks in the road by correctly identifying the addition problem. So what they would do is they would say 1 + 1 = 2, and if they had it correct, then they would put their square that we have right here onto it. And the first student that has 4 in a row, much like Connect 4, would be the student that won the game. They could play this over and over again, and we do have 2 opportunities. So I have 2 different cards that I found that they can utilize. Next, we have our social studies or science material. This is the one piece that I have, which I would utilize a worksheet with. I did find this material on nationalgeographic.com, and I looked at students being able to utilize a cardinal rose in order to read their map. So what we have is a laminated map and cardinal rose. There is a small story that can go along with this, which is Go Goose Go, which just identifies the 4 different areas or directions, that you find on your rose that goes on the map. With this comes along one worksheet. Certainly you can find many worksheets, I think, about direction, but I like this because it shows the picture of the map that the kids are working with and they're manipulative. And it asks several questions to help them identify which direction is going. So these tools could be used together once students have begun to learn about maps. For written expression, I got this idea out of the Mercer text, and this is a write a paragraph wheel. Oftentimes students that have challenges with written expression find that the hardest thing to do is figure out where they're going to start. And so with this, we have 4 different wheels that are on our board. They include characters, descriptors, settings, and actions. And so what your students can do is they can spin their wheel and find themselves a character such as a pirate, a descriptor such as sleepy, a setting such as the store, and an action such as kicking, and put those together to tell a short paragraph about their pirate. A lot of times the hardest thing for students to do is to get started. And so again, this is just a tool to help them get going. Next, we have our game boards. And so for game boards, I went with a math game. Something that in this house we talk a lot about is money, especially with allowances and chores. We also like to collect change in our house for big events. And so we think it's really important that we can identify change. So we call this game Fill the Pig, and what the students do is they would start with their first pig, and they're going to move their way around the board. First, they would spin their wheel, which gives them the chance. They're either going to move 1 or 2 spaces according to what they spin. Once they find what they have, we have coins. As you can see, we have pennies, dimes, and nickels in here. And they would try to make the number of cents that are on there. So they would put, if it says 9 cents, then they would lay the appropriate coins on here to say 9 cents. In order to differentiate a little bit and just make sure that this was accessible for all students, not only do we have the coins face on the front, but we also have the amount that the coin equals on the back, so that students have a little way that they can kind of make sure that they're on the right path with their numbers. The other thing I think you can do with this is you can utilize real coinage, which certainly makes it more concrete and more realistic. The other thing that does is it gives them a really nice tactile sense because they have weight from the coins as well as the feelings of the ridges, and they have both sides of the coins. The last thing that I have for you today is our folder game. And the folder game I found on kindergarten.com. And so the one that we were looking at are Jungle Fun, Sort the Letters by Their Features. For this game, what I've done is I've taken and laminated squares of all the alphabet. So just for some examples, you can't see this, but we have H, C, I, N, X. These are all lowercase letters. And then in addition, we have 2 sets of the boards. First, we have one set that is blank, that has tall letters, short letters, letters with tails, and letters with loops. I've also made their cheat sheet, which gives them letters that fall into the different categories written on it, should it be needed, so that they can check their work. I also laminated one sheet of letters that I did not cut off so that children would be able to put a mark through it with an expo marker after they're done writing it on the sorting cards, just to give them a bit of an opportunity to check their work and know that they're hitting all the letters. One thing that's important with this game for children to know is that letters can belong in more than one category. An example might be the letter B, which is not only is it a tall letter because of its height, but it's also a letter with a loop. That's everything that I have for my gift box. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you.